I want to talk Browns OTAs as well. There's some big headlines coming out talking about what quarterback is getting what reps, the fact that Myles Garrett has been asked to be a leader, but he isn't there. I mentioned that Noah was in Turks and Caicos, which means he had a little extra time on his hands, and he created this to get us going. Those balls were crisp, and that's what I care about the most. Gentlemen, where do we want to start? Do we want to start with Myles, or do we want to start with the QB situation? Noah, you're our football head, so you tell us.
Yeah, let's start with Myles, because I feel like that is the biggest talking point of everything that we have going on right now. And I'll tee us off with the argument. We have this argument every single year about Myles Garrett, whether it be a contract year, whether it be post defensive player of the year, whether it be a 10-7 season or an 0-17 season, whatever you want to say. Myles Garrett hasn't been showing up to OTAs for a very long time. Stars in the NFL don't show up to OTAs. It's what happens, especially when it's a non-padded. You're really not going to get anything crazy done when you're on the line of scrimmage anyway. Other notable names that weren't there: Njoku, Conklin, Bitonio, Greg Newsome, all were not there. I say all of that because I have been on the mindset and I have been on the talking point that many people have been. Ethan Greenberg, one of our fellow Fans First contributors here, is upset that people are even talking about Myles not going to OTA. He sent that in when we started our show. I don't care that Myles isn't attending, but I do at the same time because of this quote by Jimmy Haslam. And that quote goes by, "What we challenge Myles on is, by his practice habits, his actions, etc., to become a real leader of the team." Now, OTAs don't matter. The stats that we're going to talk about with the rookie quarterbacks and the fresh faces in that room do not matter. But when you're getting challenged by your boss, I don't know about you guys, but that scratches the competitive itch in me that I was nurtured in my football and my sports career to want to be better and do better things. So to me, it irks me a little bit this year just because of that quote, but it also is still a nothing burger and it's OTAs. What do you guys think?
I think there's a big difference between. I disagree with so much of your take that it's crazy. I thought we would start with quarterback because I think Myles Garrett's a non-story. I disagree with him being a leader of the team. I don't think a boss who actually thinks you should lead should give you $250 million guaranteed. Well, not fully guaranteed, but he got a huge contract to stay here. And then they're saying, now that I gave you a boatload of money, change your behavior. I think is all wild. The piece that I agree with is that I think it's a non-story because this is what he's always done. A lot of people want Myles Garrett to lead. We don't need to relitigate that. We fought about it twice already. Whether you think he should lead or you think he shouldn't, the fact is he isn't a leader. So to expect somebody who was never a leader to come in and lead because he now got the biggest contract in NFL history is the definition of stinking thinking. So, and I'm not saying
hold on.
That he should be the one to lead this team. I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but I don't give a shit what Jimmy Haslam says, and neither does Myles Garrett. I got my money. I'm the defensive player of the year caliber player, and I'll be there when I get there. And if you want me there, make it mandatory.
Pause real quick, because I agreed with everything you said up to talking about him being a leader. The owner and the coach, your bosses, have told you they want to see you become more of a leader. Yep. That's a direction that they told you they want to see you go. If your boss tells you, hey, I want to see more of X out of you, you strive to do that. So
no, not if you got the money already. You strive to do that because you want to get paid.
So you get your paycheck, so you're not going to, if they paid your year's salary in advance, that's a ridiculous
It's not
seeing
ridiculous.
it on that.
You can disagree with it and not call it ridiculous. It's not ridiculous to think that a man who already got the money would be less motivated to do what his boss says. If he doesn't want to do what his boss says and his boss gets pissed, his boss can fire him. You're going to fire a guy who you have to pay $100 million?
That sounds
Probably
worse.
not.
Just because he got the money, he doesn't want to be a leader?
Because he didn't get the money, he doesn't want to come to something that's optional and stupid.
No, I think the OTAs are stupid. He doesn't have to come to that. I'm not talking about that at all. You dovetailed it into just because Jimmy said he wants you to be a leader, you don't have to do that. You got your money. I think that's a take that I don't agree with at all.
I'm not saying that's my take. I'm saying that's Myles' take, and I'm okay with it. I would show up differently. If I were in that situation, would I go about my business the way Myles Garrett has? Probably not. I'd be the first one there, the last one gone, trying to show that I earned the C on my chest. What I'm saying is before he got his bag, he'd proven to you he didn't want to lead. So giving him a bunch more money and then saying, now do it, is idiotic on Jimmy Haslam's part. That's what I'm saying. He's demonstrating.
I disagree because
want to do it. So why,
if you're
surprised now that he got paid?
We could talk in circles about this. And again, maybe he will step up and be that leader. The OTAs don't prove nothing. It's a Cleveland media bullshit story. But to say that the owner gave you more money and requested X of you, and you shouldn't have to do that because you don't want to. If your boss came to you,
I think you're misunderstanding
my
point. I want to cut you off because you misstated what I said. I didn't say because he gave you more money, you should have more of a reason to fuck off. I'm saying as the owner of the team who pays the salaries, if you thought Myles Garrett should be a better leader, you should have said, I'll give you a bigger contract when you lead. You shouldn't have said, here's all the money. Now I hope you do what I asked you to do before, when I've never done it at any other point.
I still think it's a bad take, because if your boss comes to you and says, hey, I'm promoting you, but I want to see more leadership out of you.
Stop comparing it to me, man. We don't make $100 million a year, bro.
Just because the money's bigger doesn't mean the responsibility.
Yes, it does. It absolutely does.
Guys. So I was letting y'all spiral for a minute, but the question on the table is OTAs and Myles Garrett. We've had this argument. We've gone down this rabbit hole on the channel already.
Oh, you technically brought it up, brother.
Me?
Yeah, you said that on the one hand, OTAs are dumb,
well,
but on the other hand...
Right, and that's why I think it's connected. We're having the same argument about how Myles should act if XYZ on Jimmy.
And to answer the question, I think this is a complete nothing story. OTAs are not mandatory. If you want a guy to show up, then exactly as John said, make them mandatory. I think this is nothing. I don't feel any way positive or negative towards Myles Garrett for missing OTAs or any other guy. I do think it's bullshit that Myles is the only one that gets called out. That sucks. I don't know why that's the case. But again, it's a nothing story. He doesn't have to be there, period.
It is at the end of the day. A lot of this is going to end up being a nothing story because that's what OTAs is at the end of the day.
Right. There's
fun stuff for us to follow. There's fun stuff for us to talk about. We can be excited about a quarterback competition and all that. The fact of the matter is, go ahead.
I was just going to say, speaking of,
go ahead.
Let's move on. That's a great segue because we do have a quarterback battle. We have signed 52 quarterbacks to the Cleveland Browns, every single roster spot, and we're just going to see what happens at this point. In all seriousness, though, we have a competition on our hands a little bit that maybe people didn't think we would have. Shedeur Sanders obviously was the flashier pick, even though he fell. You have Gabriel. You have Old Man. I'm not sure what's going to happen. That's leaving off Kenny Pickett as well. I'm not sure what's going to happen, but I want to hear what you guys think. Noah, you have, I think you have a graphic of the reps. Can you put that up real quick?
Yeah. So this shows the 11 on 11 reps that happened today. Day 2 of OTAs between Sanders, Flacco, Gabriel, and Pickett. So you can kind of see what the rep split looked like there. And this is, again, for 11 on 11 only. So this isn't every drill that happened at practice. Sanders went 7 for 9, 3 touchdowns in the red zone on 11-11. Flacco actually started us off, despite the fact that the previously rumored depth chart of Kenny Pickett, then Dylan Gabriel, then Joe Flacco, then Shedeur Sanders in that order, being the depth chart that they are going to start out with, being true for most of this practice. Flacco did start with the ones during this 11-on-11 period. Gabriel went 11 for 16, 2 touchdowns and a pick. And then Pickett went 9 for 16 with 0 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. Classic Kenny Pickett football, might I add.
Which, to be fair, correct me if I'm wrong, but like Sanders had the most touchdowns, but he had most of the reps inside the red zone, which resulted in that.
Correct. I think obviously we weren't there to watch the practice. I don't know if their 11-on-11 period was specifically red zone 11-on-11, so 25-yard in, just running plays 1st and 10 from there, and that's how they ran it. But Sanders did get the least amount of reps, is in that number 4 quarterback spot. They are putting the pressure to my boy, legendary himself. But that's okay, because he is going to be the week 1 starter in my mind.
I think that the most important stat on that chart is going to be the most overlooked one, which is the denominator of the completions. Noah, great point. They flipped what they thought the depth chart was going to be on its head a bit and who actually went out when. But if you look at how many total attempts each quarterback had, the Pickett, Gabriel, Flacco, Sanders holds pretty strong. I don't take a lot in TDs and interceptions when guys are in shorts and T-shirts and only wearing helmets and cleats. I look at what's going on with the reps. If we're going to take anything away from it, it's that who played first might not matter. Who played most might be a best way to evaluate what the Browns are thinking at depth chart.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because one of the news items coming out today was in regards to Joe Flacco, saying that he reiterated, and he's been very clear on this, he does not want to be a mentor. That's not what he's there to do. He's not there to sit on the bench and mentor younger guys. He expects to play and be number 1. And hearing that today, my first thought was, this guy's going to be traded.
See, I disagree with you on that. I think Flacco is going to be here and be in that role. He did the same thing kind of with Anthony Richardson, right? Like, obviously, he still has the talent. He still wants to play. That's the mentality you want out of any guy, regardless if it's your 1, 2, 3 practice squad quarterback, whatever. That being said, I think that the reverse is happening here, and they're talking and they're putting a lot of shine on Kenny Pickett right now because they want to do what they did in a way with Travis Hunter, a lot smaller, talking him up a bunch. And we really like him, and he looks great, and he fits our system. So that way they can trade and get some value out of him. They used a 5th-round pick from this previous draft, so the Shedeur Sanders draft, to acquire Kenny Pickett. They were trying to get rid of picks this year anyway. Picking up a project quarterback that fits the staple of an Andrew Berry project, a former 1st-round pick with some upside, and then dumping him later on because you want to use the old vet that you know works in the system and work with the 2 rookie quarterbacks that kind of fell in your lap, your guy Dylan Gabriel and a high upside many of us thought was a 1st-round talent in Shedeur Sanders, and roll with those 3. That's what I think's happening here as opposed to that. Joe Flacco has never changed his tune on this, so for him to go out there and say anything different now would honestly shock me.
So speaking of Kenny Pickett, there's 2 things that I wanted to bring up regarding him. First of all, Terry Bradshaw said that Pickett was not a failure. The Steelers were the failure in that situation. But then Pickett also appeared to take some shots at the Steelers organization kind of in a subtweet kind of manner. He was asked about his 1 season in Philadelphia, and his response was, "I'm extremely grateful for my time in Philly. I think I was just shown how it's supposed to be done really from the top down. You get a chance to see what it's supposed to look like and how it should look on a day-to-day basis, not just on Sundays. I think it'll pay dividends for me in the future." Obviously not directly calling out Pittsburgh, but it sure as hell seems like he's doing exactly that. What do you guys take from that?
I think the very next former Steeler to become Brown that ends up on top will be the first. It was cute to take a shot, but for the reasons we talked about with the Steelers record, not that the Steelers are the end-all be-all anymore that they were when they had the Hines Ward kind of teams that went to Super Bowls, but if you're waiting for the former Steelers quarterback turned Cleveland Brown to shut all the haters up, I'd love to see it as much as the next guy. I'm not holding my breath.
But I don't think
I'm
he
with
was
you.
taking the shot because he's a Browns fan. I mean, he was
No.
asked about his
There's
time
nothing
in
to do with
Philly.
it. I just mean the Steelers are good. The Browns have sucked. And in him being in Cleveland, he's like, oh, now I see what it's supposed to be like. Okay. Well, can you play what it's supposed to be like? Because that's what matters. He wasn't quarterbacking the teams in the Super Bowl. And I don't mean to yeah, go ahead.
No, I should have clarified my question, because I guess what I'm asking is, what do you think the biggest differences were that he saw saying that Philadelphia is the organization top down, whereas Pittsburgh isn't? Like, why is he calling out Pittsburgh here, saying like they didn't really do him dirty or anything? So why that take? What makes Philly show him how it's supposed to be done as an organization compared to Pittsburgh?
A Super Bowl ring versus some mediocre coaching from some shit offensive coordinators. I mean, it's clear as day to me. And if you don't know, you're not in the weeds. The Browns have tailored what they're doing in terms of building a roster and how they act very close to what the Philadelphia Eagles have done, whether that be building on the defensive line and then adding your pieces, making pieces fit around a quarterback that maybe isn't a franchise guy. Who knows? Franchise guy, meaning, yes, I think highly of Jalen Hurts, but he's not Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes in terms of talent, right? It feels like the Browns are building what the Eagles have done. And the reason for that is the connection between Andrew Berry and a lot of people in that front office. Now, for those who, again, don't know, I don't really see this as much of a shot at Pittsburgh as you can make it out to be. If it is, I think it's just trying to do fan service because he's a Browns quarterback now. And that being said, still, I think he's just speaking highly about a really good experience. He got to have some playing time there, whether it be in the Super Bowl or towards the end of the season when Jalen Hurts was hurt. And now he's a Super Bowl champion and can say, yeah, I played in the Super Bowl. Wouldn't you speak highly about that too? Because I know I would.
Well, when you're kicking as much ass as they were, you and I and John could have been in it as well. I do want to clarify real quick the comments made by Joe Flacco, because I think this distinction is important. He said, it's a good question, but somebody to bait somebody into answering, and no matter how they answer, it kind of makes the guy that's answering it look bad. If I say I don't want to be a mentor, I look bad. If I say I do want to be a mentor, then I look like an idiot that doesn't care about being good and playing football. So it's one of those questions that no matter what I say, you guys can write what you want to write about it. And there's a lot of questions like that. That's why you end up having to try to avoid them. I tend to be honest, and I've said I'm not a mentor. I play football. And in a quarterback room, there's a lot of times already, there's been already a ton of times where there's learning experiences. And I have a lot of experience and I can talk on things, and hopefully they listen, but it's not necessarily my job to make sure they listen to me. Hopefully you have a really good relationship with the guys that are in the room and you naturally want to do that. And I think that broader context just has me want to say, that's my quarterback.
No, that's exactly how I would want him to answer that too. You don't want him to be the quarterback coach. We hired a quarterback coach to be the quarterback coach. But if he has something to say or can input, you want him to input, basically what he said. So I agree. And with that broader context, get Kenny Pickett off my team and give me Joe Flacco week 1. I was kidding earlier when I said Shedeur Sanders week 1. Yes, I stand Shedeur Sanders, but I just want to see the Cleveland Browns win a game at the end of the day. John, did you have anything you want to jump in here? I have some quick hit news pieces that I wanted to get your guys' reactions from.
Just a couple other quick hitting things that I would tap. 30 seconds or less. One, don't forget that these kids are like in their 20s. So no matter what they say, no matter what they quote, they're going to regret it in 20 years because they're not mature enough socially or emotionally to have hundreds of millions of dollars and be in front of cameras every day. So let's give them a little bit of grace. The other one is, I don't mind the answer about not being a mentor. You know who does want to be a mentor who's in the Browns quarterback room? Deshaun Watson. Oh,
God. I forgot
he
that
showed up for OTAs today.
I'll leave that right there. That's all I had to add.
I know it's probably uncouth to ban him, but can we not ban him or something? Can he not practice in Toledo?
You could ban me from my own house for $40 million a year, brother.
That's what I'm saying. But just as an organization, like, who the fuck wants him around? Pardon my French, but
They have to
do
without
they?
fines. Yes, they do. They have to because of the contract.
He has access to the
Unfortunately.
facility. Yeah.
And because of his rehab and all of that and insurance and blah, yeah, there's a lot of things that go into that. I have 3 pieces of news that I want to get your reactions on. Today was the OTA day where media members were allowed to be there. So, of course, a lot of the bigger names in the Cleveland sports world were able to get their own reactions. The first one, of course, I got to start with my boy Shador. Dale Reuter says, you could tell Shador Sanders has been putting in work on his mechanics. Noticeable difference to me how he threw the ball today versus rookie minicamp. Looks more fluid and a lot more tight spirals. Not really anything crazy to say other than yep, but I wanted to give that a shout out just because that's the main thing. There was a lot of question with the work ethic and that kind of thing. And let's hope he keeps moving down this path for the sake of us 3 as Browns fans.
It's better than not looking good, but Brandon Whedon and Derek Anderson looked very good in training camp as well. So
for sure.
I mean,
the fact that the kid's willing to put in the work.
No, it's great. Like I said, it's
more
better
than Johnny
no,
Football didn't.
That's true too. I'm not saying it's nothing. I'm just saying it's not a lot.
Fair. The next one, we'll sprinkle in what I think is a negative headline here and then finish with a positive one. Deontay Johnson, problem wide receiver. We signed him for next to nothing off the street to potentially be wide receiver 2 or 3. He was not at OTAs today. And I know we just went through this whole thing about not going to OTAs doesn't matter. But for a guy that needs to show his work ethic and his attitude towards a team, to me, he is not no Myles Garrett. You better be at OTAs, and he was not. Yeah. So I give a big thumbs down to that.
If you're a bubble guy, get your fucking ass there. Like, you're showing that you don't want to play professional football. That's what that says to me, because you are not Myles Garrett. You're dead ass right. And I know they're optional, but yeah, I'm going to change my tune, because if you're on the bubble, I don't know what you're doing not showing up. That's crazy.
For sure.
I don't think it's that crazy if you have confidence in your game. I agree with your sentiment. I think if you want to make a good impression and your spot isn't guaranteed, it's in your best interest to come to everything. Optional, not optional, be the first one in, last one out, set the tone. That's it. I mean, we're talking about pro athletes and 20-year-olds again. Like, I know if all 3 of us got a meeting invite tomorrow and your boss said, hey, we're going to have a meeting, could be interesting, but I'm going to list you as optional, then it's optional, and we may or may not be there. So I don't want to kill him for not showing up to something that's not mandatory, but is it in his best interest to show up? Probably. I just don't. OTAs is the time. This is the second silly season right after like the couple weeks leading up to the draft where everybody's like, there was a guy in sweatpants doing this on a bike, and there was a girl over here rubbing this guy's leg. Is he injured? And this guy didn't show up to a mini camp, OTA, rookie only, optional. Like, either he can play or he can't. This won't make a difference in whether or not he makes the roster.
Do you guys think that other cities are like this? Like, in
100%.
New York right now, hold on, let me finish. In New York right now, where they have good baseball being played, or in LA where they have really good baseball being played, do you think there are people sitting around like fangirling over OTAs? I don't 100%. Think so.
Yeah. This is
I don't think like we do in Cleveland.
Maybe not like Cleveland, but there's a lot of franchises, especially bad franchises, because you're looking for the first glimmer of hope and reason to believe. Maybe not quite like Cleveland, but if you don't think there are a bunch of Jets fans watching these rookies work out, I think you're crazy.
No, I think it's 100% like that, because there's a reason the NFL takes the cake in terms of all the American professional sports leagues. I mean, for Christ's sakes, we had a 3-hour NFL schedule release show on ESPN, and I don't know what the numbers did, but the fact that they could even justify putting that on the air is all you need to know about the grasp that the NFL has on the average American. The last piece of news I want to get into, I got to end it with one of my big boys. Shout out to Juan Jones. He showed up to OTAs. He is there. He is playing left tackle as expected and, quote, is in terrific shape.
Yeah.
The shape has been a big question mark with him. Part of the reason for injuries, potentially. That boy has always been pushing 415. Saying he looks good shape. Obviously, we don't have a weight or a number or a thought process there yet, but just hearing that is good news following another injury-ended season for the boy from OSU.
Knock on wood.
Yeah.
If he can stay healthy, I mean, he is a mountain of a man. And hopefully, like his Game of Thrones doppelganger in terms of name, the Mountain, maybe he could just be a force that he can't get hurt because, I mean, that dude is massive.
Massive indeed.
I'll give a 30-second take instead of a 10-second take because this was a accidental leak of my hot take. But knowing we were talking a ton about OTAs, I was going to say that all the news out of OTAs is pretty much bullshit that you can ignore. Who comes, who goes, who's there, who's not, who's hurt, who's sitting, who's in, who first team. None of it matters. The only thing that matters is if you were fat last year or you were injured last year and you come back healthy or you come back skinny, that is big news. That's the only news where I look, hey, this dude who was a tub of goo last year and got his money and thought he could just coast, busted his ass and lost 40 pounds and looks in the best shape of his life. That's the only stuff that's newsworthy. Doesn't guarantee Jawad Jones a roster spot or a Hall of Fame career, but it shows that he's willing to put in the work.
You just reminded me of something completely different sport, but Luka Doncic's girlfriend posted this meal she was making, and people were commenting because it was healthy, and they're like, "Oh, we're cooked." He's got his girlfriend cooking healthy meals now, so that's fair. That's a fair.
Great chicken and rice. Oh man, Lakers win the
league
West.
is done.